All right, number 1 says if BCDE is congruent to OPQR, then DE is congruent to blank. In this case, we're talking about some sort of like quadrilateral. It has 4 sides. And remember, the stuff that's in the same spot are congruent. So if this is B, C, D, E, and my second one is O, P, Q, R, I know when I name them, anything in the same spot has to be the same. So if we're looking at DE on the bottom, then we're going to be looking at RQ here. Another way you can do this instead of drawing your picture is my letters are in the same order. So if I'm looking at DE, then we're looking at QR, because D and Q are in the same spot, E and R are in the same spot. So our answer for this one would be QR. Number 2 says if triangle MNO is congruent to triangle PQR, which of the following can you not conclude as being true? Remember, same thing with this one. If my letters are in the same spot, then I know that those parts are congruent. So the first one says MN is congruent to PR. Well, if I look, MN, let's write it bigger so I can actually write it out. We have triangle MNO is congruent to triangle PQR. So for the first one, MN is congruent to PR. Well, MN are my first 2 letters, and PR is my first letter and my last letter. So that one actually has to not be true, so it should be A, but let's look at the others just to make sure. For my second one, M is congruent to P. We have M and P in the same spot, so that one's good. Cross it out, can't be our answer. The next one, C, NO is congruent to QR. We have NO, we have QR, so that's true, they're in the same spot, can't be C. And for D, they want N and Q. N's the middle letter, Q's the middle letter, so it can't be D. So our answer has to be A. And number 3 says triangle ABC is congruent to blank. So right now I have all these markings on my triangles that tell me that they're all congruent. I know all the sides are congruent. I know all the angles are congruent. So again, we just want to figure out which angle ABC is, and that will be congruent to the angle in the same spot. So we have A, B, C here. Now you need to make sure your angles match. So A has 3 little markings here, and M has 3 markings. So it's going to be congruent to angle M. And then M goes to N, that's the one with 1 marking, and then to 2, which is P. So angle M and P would be my answer. Notice M and A both have 3 marks. N and B both have 1, and P and C both have 2. So they match. Number 4, the 2 triangles are congruent as suggested by their appearance. Find the value of C. The diagrams are not to scale. So again, anything in the same spot has to be congruent. So I'm trying to figure out what C is in the same spot as. I noticed that based on how my triangle looks, we probably have our little right angle here. And so C is going to be the one on the bottom, which is 3. So C equals 3. Again, they're just in the same spot, so they're the same size. My last one, given triangle QRS is congruent to triangle TUV, then QS equals 3V plus 2, TV equals 7V minus 6. Find the length of QS and TV. If I look at my statement again, triangle QRS is congruent to triangle TUV. I notice that QS, they're my first 2 letters, well, my first and my last letter, and TV is my first and the last letter. So they're in the same spot. So that tells me that QS has to be congruent to TV. So when I set up my equation, I'm going to set these 2 things equal to each other. So 3V plus 2 equals 7V minus 6. From there, we're just solving for V. So I'm going to move my 3V first, minus 3V, minus 3V. When I do that, I get 2 equals 4V minus 6. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit so I have some more space. All right. We want to move our 6, so I'm going to add 6 to both sides. When I do that, I get 8 equals 4V. We'll divide both sides by 4. and we get V equals 2. Now I found V, but they really wanted me to find QS and TV, so we have to plug it in. But remember, we have this statement over here that says QS is congruent to TV. So I need to plug it in once. The second one will have the same answer. QS equals 3V plus 2. We found V was 2, so we're going to plug in 2. We'll do 3 times 2 plus 2, which is 6 plus 2, which equals 8. So QS is going to equal 8. Now, if you want for good measure, you can check TV, but it should be the same thing. TV equals, 7 times 2 minus 6, which is 14 minus 6, which also equals 8. So they both equal 8. These two match, so I know we did it right.